Hi guys, happy Wednesday. We're going to go ahead and go over our lesson for today and how to go about our assignments. So today we're working on lesson 10 and we're going to be making connections between Percy Jackson and the novel we're reading, The Lightning Thief, and the informational piece of text that told us the archetype called the hero's journey. So we're going to go ahead and look at that now. So you need to go into Google Classroom. As always, everything is in Google Classroom. We're in the week of September 28th to October 2nd, and you're going to have to click on Wednesday's assignment, Making Connections, which looks like this. And you're going to be working through this chart in close reading both texts of the hero's journey. It is also important that you have the hero's journey document up near you because you're going to be close reading the different acts in the hero's journey and you're going to need to be able to pick out some things from this text. So for today's assignment, you're going to need this copy of Making Connections and you're going to need your copy of the hero's journey. Okay? So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making connections and we're going to find the relationship between what a hero is and if Percy kind of fits that stereotype of a hero. So as you see, your directions are to close read two different sections of the story, The Hero's Journey. You're going to read each quote from the two pieces of text. You have a quote from The Lightning Thief here, and then you have a quote from The Hero's Journey in this column here. You're going to read both of those quotes, and then you're going to try to figure out how are they related, and you're going to explain the relationship that these two quotes have with one another in this box here. So first what we're going to read is we're going to read the quote from The Lightning Thief. It says, I have dyslexia and attention deficit disorder, and I have never made above a C minus in my life. Okay, so in this quote, it's kind of talking about Percy's struggles in school. He has a learning disability. He has dyslexia, which makes the letters on a page maybe look backwards, or it makes it seem like they're kind of floating around the page. So it makes him really hard to be able to read and understand what he's reading when the letters look all different because he has dyslexia. And then because of that, he's also talked about how his grades have been. He's never gotten above a C minus, okay? So he doesn't really have good grades. And now we're going to go ahead and read the quote from the hero's journey. Heroes possess some ability or characteristic that makes them feel out of place. So in the hero's journey, it was talking about how they feel out of place, and that was in Act 1, the separation. They possess some ability or characteristic that makes them feel out of place. So remember, this piece of text here was telling us different things that a hero might have about themselves or different things that a hero might go through. So this very first one was talking about them kind of feeling different, kind of making them feel out of place in the ordinary world. So if we look at both of these two quotes, how are they related to one another? Well, Percy says that he has dyslexia, which makes him kind of feel different, makes the letters on a page float across the page, which is not something that many people have or have to deal with. And then the hero's journey was talking about they have this characteristic or ability that makes them just feel out of place. So what I'm going to say for the relationship between these two quotes is that Percy kind of directly embodies this part of the hero's journey about feeling weird in this ordinary world, okay, or feeling as though he doesn't belong. So what I'm going to say the relationship between this would be that these quotes are related because Percy has characteristics. And then I'm just going to put in parentheses his dyslexia because that's the characteristic that he has that makes him feel out of place, okay, or that he doesn't belong. And this is a challenge that many heroes face. And I know that this is a challenge that many heroes face because it was in the hero's journey and it was talking about something that a lot of heroes might go through. So if I take a look of both of these quotes, they are just directly related to one another because Percy has this weird thing that makes him feel out of place, his dyslexia. And then the informational text told us that it's likely that heroes have these characteristics that just make them feel odd or make them feel weird in the world that they're living in. Okay. So what you guys are going to do is you're going to finish filling out this chart by reading both quotes and then telling me how they're related to one another, okay? So how does Percy embody what is talked about in the hero's journey, okay? So with the next one, we'll read the quote from the Lightning Thief. With a yelp, I dodged and felt talons slash in the air next to my ear. I snatched the ballpoint pen out of the air, but when it hit my hand, it wasn't a pen anymore. It was a sword, Mr. Brunner's bronze sword, which he always used on tournament day. Okay, so in this quote here, it is talking about that altercation at the museum in chapter 1 where Mrs. Dodds turns into this creature and she starts to kind of attack Percy, okay? But what it really talks about in this section is how he's getting the ballpoint pen and how it turns into a sword. Our quote from the hero's journey says, heroes find a mystic object or discover their world is in danger. So how are these two quotes related? What do they have to do with one another? Did Percy find a mystic object or a magical object in this text? Or did he discover that his world or that he was in danger in this text? Those are some things to think about. And then you're going to go ahead and write how they are related here. Okay? Is anything from the quote of the hero's journey found in this piece of the text in The Lightning Thief? And that's what you're going to do for your first chart, making the connection between the things that you've read in The Lightning Thief and the things that were outlined to us in the hero's journey, talking about all of the different things that a hero might go through or the different things that might happen to a hero. And once you finish that, you will keep scrolling down. And then you're going to figure out if Percy's experience align with the hero's journey or if they kind of match up. So it says, now you will be looking at different experiences that Percy has had in the novel. You will need your copy of the hero's journey to find out what stage of the journey Percy is on. So you'll scroll down to this second chart and it looks a little different than your first one. So in this second chart, it gives you Percy's experience and the archetype of the hero's journey, okay? So when you guys get your copy, those two boxes will not be filled out. So the first two boxes are going to be empty, as you will see, and you're going to be given a section in the story. So you'll have to first read what happened to Percy in this section. But Mr. Brunner expected me to be as good as everybody else, despite the fact that I have dyslexia and attention deficit disorder, and I had never made above a C- in my life. Okay. So we're reading that experience that Percy has in The Lightning Thief. And now what we need to do is we need to come up with what stage Percy is in the hero's journey, and then we need to find our quote, okay? So when I read this, it's talking about how Percy has dyslexia again and attention deficit order, so it makes it hard for him to pay attention. And then it's talking about his grades again. So once you read the quote, you're going to go back in the hero's journey and you're going to look through each different stage. We have the ordinary world, the call to adventure, entering the unknown, supernatural aid, or a meeting with the mentor. And you're going to read through these, and that's why we did the gist. On your pages, you should have the gist, which is kind of like the summary of what happened. And you're going to find, okay, what stage was Percy in the quote that we read? So if I look through all of my stages, supernatural aid, this one talked about Percy it talked about the supernatural character gets a quest or like a journey that they have to go on or a challenge that they have to meet. This quote did not talk about Percy going on a magical quest, so I know that Percy is not in the supernatural aid stage of the hero's journey. So I'm going to keep going. Allies, every hero needs a helper. Talks about a hero having a sidekick. Um, this again was not talking about Percy having a sidekick. It was just talking about his dyslexia and his grades. So I'm going to keep going through and I'm going to go ahead and the ordinary world talks about heroes feeling out of place and odd. Okay, so this one's kind of easy. I'm going to do the ordinary world as my stage because it talks about him feeling odd and they possess an ability or characteristic that makes them feel out of place. And I think that definitely goes with this quote because it talked about Mr. Brunning wanting Percy to be as good as everybody else, but Percy doesn't feel as good as everyone else because he has dyslexia and the attention deficit disorder. So the stage of the hero's journey that I'm going to put is this bolded and underlined the ordinary world. That's the stage that I think Percy is in this section. And then the archetype of the hero's journey. So then I need to put the quote in there. And to put the quote, it can be very simple. All you'll need to do is highlight and copy what happened during this stage. Copy and paste it here. And then I need to make sure I put quotation marks around it. Okay, so I read this quote from the text. I think the stage that Percy is in the hero's journey is the first one, the ordinary world. So that's the stage that I put, and then I directly put what happens during that stage by copying and pasting it here. Okay, so then you'll go ahead and you'll read the next one. The freak weather continued, which didn't help my mood. One night, a thunderstorm blew out the windows in my dorm room. A few days later, the biggest tornado ever spotted in the Hudson Valley touched down only 50 miles from Yancey Academy. Okay, so I'm going to think about what's happening in this quote, and then I'm going to go to my hero's journey. I'm going to look through all the different stages that there are, and I'm going to try to figure out which stage Percy is in. And then I will put the stage here, and I will copy and paste what happens during that stage from the hero's journey in the second box. Okay? So that is what you're going to be doing today. And by doing this, we are closely reading both of our texts. Okay, we're picking out quotes from the text, so we're closely reading and analyzing it. The first one, you're coming up with the relationship. And then the second one, you are reading a part from The Lightning Thief and telling me how or where it matches up in the hero's journey. If you have any questions, please, please, please reach out to me and send me an email. This is your assignment for the day, and you're going to need this for tomorrow because we are going to be writing a short answer response based off of the evidence and the relationships that we found in today's assignment. Have a wonderful Wednesday.